Hello and welcome back to Kim's Cozy Corner. I'm Kim and I just wanted to give you a very short update on just how my fruit's doing in my garden. Don't have a lot out here. Most of it's not ready to harvest. Actually, none of it's ready to harvest, but I want to show you how it's doing. The last time I gave you an update on just the fruit was like in January or February when I was pruning the different bushes. So let me just show you how it's doing today. For those who follow me knows that I am growing quite a few different types of berries. In my GreenStalk tower here, I have a couple tiers with strawberries in it. Here's one that's almost ready. My tower does spin. There's another that's almost ready. That's what's growing in my GreenStalk tower on my patio, just those two tiers. And I put it here so my girls can have fresh, quick, easy picking. Let's next move over to my berries close to the house. Over here in this space, in no clear order and obviously not very well taken care of, I have both raspberries and blackberries. So let's go in close and see how they're doing. This is one of my raspberry bushes and it finally has leaves on them, as well as, if you'll look closely here, if I can get it to focus, right here, there are little pockets that will flower, and these are the places where I will have raspberries in the future. There's another raspberry over here, and it has blooms as well, starting to fill out. And then just to the right of it, I have blackberries. So there are 3 blackberry bushes here. A week ago, there were no leaves on any of these. But if you'll look here, they're also starting to bloom. There's a few blooms on there. There's a little bud right there that will eventually become a bloom. So 3 blackberries and 2 raspberries here. So in this space here, I have blueberry bushes that are starting to come back. So here's one of the blueberries. I don't see any blooms on them yet, but the leaves are nice and green. This area right here, that piece right there is dead, I believe. I need to cut it away. The other one is starting to pick up some leaves as well. No blooms. Now I did receive 1 blueberry off of this bush last year. It was super sweet, but I had literally just planted the bush, so I didn't expect to get anything, so I was happy to get the one that I did. Now the issue that I have with both of these bushes is, as you can see, that black hose, that's my water hose, and then of course the metal one right there, the silver one, that's a water hose. So when I have to hand water, we pull the hose out of this area and it rubs up against the bottom of my bush there, as well as the bottom of this bush here, which continues to cause issues to the main stem. So I think over time this is going to be a problem. I'm going to need to find a way to protect these from the water hose. Since you see, and you come around here, that's where the water hose connects to the house, and the first thing you get to are my blueberry trees. So maybe I didn't choose the best location for those 2 trees. And just in front of those 2 trees, I have, if you can see between all the weeds that are down here, but I have this right here. This is a cranberry bush. It stays very low to the ground. Again, if you can even see it between all of the weeds there, but let me get rid of some weeds and see if you can see it. This greenery right here, that's cranberries. And I have two. Oh, look, I have a cranberry. Oh my goodness. I have a cranberry. Oh my goodness. I didn't think I'd get cranberries this early, but that is definitely a cranberry on my cranberry bush. Oh my goodness. I have cranberries. In addition to that one, I have this one here. It's also covered in sticky bushes and in grass, but there is another cranberry down there. Oh my goodness, I am just like ecstatic. There is a cranberry. It's only one, but there's a cranberry on my cranberry bush. And I planted these last year at the end of the year. Wasn't expecting to get anything on them for a few years because they were so small, but I have cranberries. So we have raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, cranberries. So far, I've showed you all of those. Let's move over to the area right next to us here and take a look and see how my peach trees are doing. This is my Reliance peach tree, and this one took forever to get leaves on it. And it's finally starting to get some leaves on it. I'm not expecting any peaches on this tree this year. And I thought I saw signs of rust on it, on some of the leaves. And so I made sure I removed those from the tree and made sure only healthy leaves were left behind. Now this is a dwarf peach tree, so it's not going to get super tall or anything like that. It'll be the perfect size once it starts producing, and hopefully next year it will produce. And right beside it is a much healthier Reliance peach tree, very similar to the one beside it. This is a replacement tree, and I'm going to be honest with you, this tree is not acting like a dwarf tree. I am really concerned that this is a full-size peach tree. All of the documentation says that it's dwarf. You can see where it was grafted on the stem, but this tree is definitely acting very differently than the first two peach trees that I purchased. I didn't do a good job of opening up the center so that it'll get a lot of airflow. But again, I'm not expecting peaches this year on this tree. I never got blooms, and it's already May 15th. And so it's too late for blooms. No blooms, no peaches. So let's move over to what I call the mini orchard area. Before I go over there, I forgot this container here. This container here had a blueberry in it last year, and it completely died. It did not grow at all. I found a clearance item blueberry bush, and I replaced it in this container here. And anytime you put a new plant in, it kind of withers away before it starts to come back. And it already has new leaves coming on it, so I'm expecting it to come back. The interesting thing in this space here is this container sits just below my gutters. And years past, I had trouble getting flowers to grow in this space here because the nasty water from the gutter would drip into the container. So I've pulled this container out away from the gutter to give us some little room behind it, to give us space so that we don't have that issue from the gutter. But now my birds have decided to have bird baths in the gutter, and they keep pulling all of the leaves and all the junk out of the gutter and dumping them in my container here. So a lot of these came from the birds playing in the gutter and throwing stuff into my container. I have one on both sides. So I have this one and one on the other side, which this is last year's blueberry bush, and it's coming back well. I also moved it away from the gutter to hopefully keep it from dripping into the container. It's dripping actually pretty close though, so I may have to pull it out just a little bit more. Beside the blueberry are two more raspberry containers, and these are doing actually wonderful. If you'll see here, there are little places here on the bush. These will all be raspberries in the future. They will be raspberries. I have one that's already opening all the way up. And one of these is a golden raspberry, and then the other one is the traditional raspberry where they're red in nature. But there are lots of little raspberries coming on here. And raspberries spread. So if you didn't know, you want to be very careful where you plant your raspberries. There's the main bush right there. And they're already coming up along the edges and putting off shoots and roots. So I'm expecting this container to be very full in the near future. Now, we were headed over to the orchard, the mini orchard. People may say this is not an orchard. I want to call it an orchard because on orchards, you have apple trees, you can have peach trees, you have fruit trees on orchards, and that's what I have. I have 3 apple trees here. These are shareable dwarf apple trees, so they stay super, super small in size. They're called reachables, not shareables. They're called reachables because you should be able to reach the fruit on these trees without a ladder. With proper pruning, I should be able to get that. Now, last year, these were twigs. There was nothing there. I mean, it was a twig about the size of my pinky. There was nothing to them. They got a few leaves on them late in the year, and this year they're filling out nicely, very nicely. I don't expect fruit this year. There were no blooms, but they're getting super healthy. The trunk, thank you, the trunk of these trees are starting to fill out nicely as well. So I have 3 kinds. I have a Gala apple tree here, Fuji apple tree right there, and really close to me right here, this is a Sundance. When you're planting apple trees, you need to make sure that you have the proper pollinator nearby. If it's not in the garden, you want to make sure that there's some at least in the area, because certain apple trees will pollinate other apple trees. A lot of times you'll hear people saying they have a crab apple tree, and they get those because they can pollinate so many different types of apple trees. The other tree that I have in the space here is another peach tree. Now, this is the peach tree that I had over where you saw the first 2 peach trees. It didn't fill out, it stayed dormant, and the company that I bought them from sent me a replacement tree since it never came out of dormancy. And I decided not to get rid of it. I just put it here, and you see it has leaves on it. Last year it didn't even have leaves. It may have gotten 3 leaves toward the end of the year. So it now has leaves. So I am hoping that this peach tree will have peaches on it next year along with the other 2. The type of peach trees that I purchased, which are called Reliance peach trees, are best for my zone 6A, and they are self-pollinating. So you can have fruit on one tree. You don't need a pollinator, but of course, the more trees you have, the better the pollination will be. Also in my mini orchard, I do have berries. So in this container here, I have raspberries going around my peach tree. I have blackberries here, and I cut these all the way down to the ground practically. And they are big and bushy. There are 2 of them here, super bushy. I don't see any blooms yet. We're looking at these together for the first time. I haven't paid much attention. Nope, I don't see any blooms yet, but I bet you they're not far behind. All of my blackberries are thornless blackberries, so I don't have to worry about getting poked with thorns on any of my blackberries. Oop, I take it back. I think we got a bloom coming in right here. This will be our first bloom. So they are coming. But my raspberries are the only berries that are going to poke me with thorns. So we had the blackberries. We have the strawberries. And right down here is one of the first raspberry plants that I put in the ground. Last year, honestly, I had counted it out. I had turned off life support and I'd call it a day. And at the end of the season, it perked its little head up and said, don't count me out. I'm still here. And this year it's coming back thicker. It's coming back healthier. I just gave it some fertilizer specific for blueberries. And so I'm expecting the red on these leaves to kind of fill out and turn green here shortly. Again, too small, I believe, to have fruit on it this year, but it's coming back with a passion. Right next to it is another blueberry, which I just planted this year. So this is the first year for this blueberry. And it's nice and green and it's looking good. So it's fertilized properly. And right next to it are more strawberries. I have probably harvested at least a half a dozen strawberries every day for the last, I don't know, week or so. And I'm just going to spin you around. I have a 7-tier strawberry tower right here in the garden. 7 tiers. So 7 times 6 is 42. That would be 42 strawberry plants, but I don't have 42. I do have a few pockets that did not come back last year, like that one there. And there's one right beside it. There's a few of those on here, but that's okay. Strawberries put off runners, and when those runners come down, I am going to plant those in those empty pockets so they will have a nice home to continue to grow. And you see there are some red strawberries on here now. My girls are behind on their job. They didn't get any of them yesterday. I ate every last one of them for lunch. On my lunch break while I was working, I was a little hungry and I came out here and I got every last one of them. Oh, there's some nice size ones. Let me turn it around so you can see. There's a decent size one right there. Some of the first ones that came on were like scrawny and looking like this here. Some of these plants they didn't come back. These are some that I purchased from the local nursery. And some of the first few strawberries look scrawny like this, but then the second round comes in and they're huge and beautiful. Like, look at this one down here. It's not ready yet, but it's going to be a nice one when it is ready. But that's not all the strawberries. Let's walk on around to the grape area. I call this the front and center portion of the garden. It's the best spot to really take it all in. Now, this is not a full garden tour, so I'm just going to give you a sneak peek of what that next garden tour is going to look like. All the beds are full and healthy. I'm just going to do a quick swing back around. But we will stop and talk about all of those on a later video, but I just want you to see there's a lot to talk about. Let's go in close here and talk about these fire rings that are full of grapes and strawberries. So I have this little container here with strawberries in them, and those are all from last year. They came back, they're healthy, and they're looking good. These I transplanted in the bed this year. I tried to purchase some bare root strawberries and they just didn't look healthy. When I got them out, they didn't do very well. So I transplanted strawberries instead of going with bare root. And you can see there's some in there that's almost ready. In this middle container, all of these strawberries are coming back from last year. So this is the second year on all of these strawberry plants. And I'm telling you, once a strawberry plant gets established, you can look at how thick and full and lush they are. Now, I don't believe I've harvested from this bed yet, but you'll see here that there are strawberries in this bed here. They're coming on. So if I just give it a little more time, we will have strawberries in this bed too. But all of the other beds are making up the difference. These I transplanted this year. And let's jump back and take a look at the grapes. The grapes are doing amazing. I have one plant that's just off the chain. It has taken off. There are baby grapes all over this, all over. Baby grapes everywhere. Everywhere there are baby grapes. And the two other, that's from last year. I have two other plants from last year that I'm not sure if they're going to make it or not, but we will see. That one plant is going all the way around here. There are grapes all over that one plant. And I have 3 brand new grape plants that we transplanted this year, and one already has leaves down low, so hopefully it'll take root this year and we will have grapes for next year. Same here with these other 2. They hopefully will take root, so we'll have grapes next year. There's one last area we need to look at that has fruit in it. On the patio of my she shed, which is right here, I had to put some grapes close. So if I'm just sitting around and enjoying the shade or music or watching TV in the she shed, I have grapes close at hand. This container here had a couple plants that came back from last year, but I added to the container to make sure that it was nice and full and had plenty of grapes. I'm saying grapes, but I mean strawberries. Nice and full and has plenty of strawberries to choose from. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I am only 30 subscribers away from having 1,000 subscribers, and I can't get there without you. So thank you again for coming with me, and I'll see you back here again real soon. Bye-bye.